Category 4 hurricane right now, downgraded from a Category 5 hurricane that we got this weekend. Now we have pressure at 935 one more time there. Your pressure is 935 millibars. Remember, the lower that pressure, the stronger the storm. 935, not too bad. It's moving from the west-northwest at about 10 miles an hour, about average, maybe a little bit slower than normal. And your winds at a whopping and very impressive 140 miles an hour. Let's zoom down and let's talk about the track. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about Erin, but we're also going to go a little bit farther into the future, and we're going to talk about a wave that's just off the coast of Africa right now that could be our next system. So ignore this area in orange right now. Let's zoom down into Erin, which is just to the north of the Leeward Islands at the moment. This will continue to track to the north. Now, what's going on right now is it's taking that westerly turn and it's starting to go northwest, and then it'll go to the north. So you can kind of see that curve right here. It will continue to track to the north, and we'll talk about why that is here in just a few minutes. But it'll continue to track to the north, and then you'll see the wind speeds go down as we've got a little bit of shear that's moving in here. That will not only help to widen the hurricane, so it's growing in size. We've seen it grow throughout this weekend, but it'll continue to grow in size as it continues to move to the north. There's two main reasons for this. One of those reasons is latitude. The farther north that you go, we often see hurricanes just get larger. That's very normal. We've also got some very warm waters the farther north that we go as well, and so that's also going to help for Erin to expand in size. Let's move on here. All right, as it gets a little bit closer to the U.S., we're talking about Category 3 strength, Category 2 strength. Now, you see this and you say, hey, it's pretty close to North Carolina. What are we expecting at this point? So by late Wednesday and into early Thursday, we're expecting those really, really high wave heights, right? We're expecting swells. We're expecting life-threatening strong waves in this area. We're expecting just a lot of impacts to the coast, which could include some flooding to some of these outer islands right here. That will be, Outer Banks area. That's going to be some of the biggest impacts to the United States. 110 mile per hour winds in Hurricane Erin, Category 2 at this point. However, you get all the way off to the coast here, we're talking about 45, maybe 55 mile per hour wind speeds. Still very impressive, still something that you want to be aware of. But for the most part, the eye of this storm is thankfully going in between Bermuda, in between the U.S. It's not going to impact directly. It's not going to directly impact any major civilizations. Great news. However, some of those peripheral impacts will be something to be noted, because we could see some of these outer islands be greatly impacted here. TJ, yeah, glad it's turning away from the land. Yeah, you see that initial westward track, and then you kind of take a deep breath whenever you see it move up to the north, right? So it kind of just parallels the East Coast. Let's keep moving on here. I'm going to go back to this area of disturbance, but I want to first talk about why this is happening. Why do we see it turn away from land? Why do we see it move up to the north? There's two reasons. We've got a high pressure system off to the east, and we've got another high pressure system that's sitting in the southeastern portion of the U.S. right now. Now, it's a little messy over here. We've got kind of two high pressure systems that are trying to set up, this one breaking down, that one farther out to the west, trying to move in and take its place. But overall, what that means is that this high pressure system is going to repel Erin, pushing it farther to the east, making that westerly track that it originally had move up to the north. So this storm is trying to take the path of least resistance. High pressure system, lots of resistance. High pressure system out to the east, also lots of resistance. What this storm is going to do, as we've already seen it do, make that westerly track. It doesn't want this high pressure system, so it's going to turn to the north, and it's going to go right in between these systems. Another thing that we can see from this map is that we've got the jet stream farther up to the north right now. That's going to help to, as this goes to the north, It's not going to keep it straight up to the north. This jet stream right up here that you can see from some of these reds, oranges, and yellows, that's going to help to turn it off back to the east. And so it's not going to hit our New England states. It's not going to hit portions of Canada. What this storm is going to do is it's going to continue to track to the north, and then it's going to curve back to the east. At that point, it's going to be pretty weak, Category 1, maybe even tropical depression at that point, and we won't be too terribly worried about it. So there's your high pressure system. This is why it's so hot across the U.S. right now. Dun, 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 dun. And you can see it. There you go. Curve back to the east. These lines right here, this is your spaghetti plots, spaghetti model plots. We'll take a look at those in just a few minutes. What your spaghetti plots tell us is it tells us different models, so different weather models will take into account different things. It'll take into account temperature, maybe sea surface temperature, winds, and they all have a different outcome, right? What that's going to do is it's going to give us all different opportunities or options about where this storm is going, and we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. Category 4 hurricane right now. Oh, we were talking about shear. Okay, so here's what this map is telling us. High shear highlighted in blue, not good for the storm. It's going to weaken the storm. You see more blue, the weaker the storm is. So we go from a Category 4 to a Category 3 as some of the shear starts to break down this storm. Remember, that storm is growing at this point as well. It's going to get bigger. Cat 3 by late Wednesday, Cat 2 on early Thursday, continuing to track up to the north and east as a Cat 2 and then Cat 1 storm as it gets into some cooler waters. Okay, here's your spaghetti plots here. We are seeing that one model in particular wants to bring this storm just a little bit closer to North Carolina. Now, you can't trust that one model. Often what you do whenever you take a look at all of these different models is you say, what's the consensus? The most models are agreeing on what? A northward turn and then back to the northeast. So you can see that curve coming in from the majority of the models, right? Is it possible to go a little bit closer to North Carolina? It's possible, but it's very, very unlikely. There you go. There's your spaghetti models. The GFS has a little funky turn in here. We go to the south, we go to the north, we go to the south, we kind of loop around ourselves. GFS, what are you doing? Alrighty, let's go back. Let's talk about this next system. So this is very common. You see one strong storm go through, and it kind of starts off a conveyor belt of storm after storm after storm, almost like it's laying the tracks for storms behind it. So this is very, very common. In a very similar fashion, just a little bit farther to the south, we have another significant wave coming off the coast of Africa. That's what you see highlighted there in orange from the X. As this continues to track to the west, a little bit closer to the states, as it gets into this region right here, we have a 50% chance of it forming into something significant. Tropical cyclone, some sort of tropical storm, hurricane. It's still too far out to know exactly what that is. However, we can see from Erin that we have potential for a strong hurricane on our hands. It's too far out to tell, but it's something to watch. Us meteorologists, we like to say the trend is your friend. So something that happened before could likely happen again. That's possible. So over the next 7 days, we'll keep an eye on this tropical wave as it strengthens, especially with it being just a little bit to the south and closer to the equator. It's got all of that warm water. It can strengthen into a hurricane very, very nicely. We'll have to track that. But there's nothing for sure right now, just something to watch. Over the next 7 days, we have to keep that in mind. As this does strengthen and it becomes a named storm, its name will be Fernand. It's next on our list. We just had Erin, Cat 5 storm, Cat 4 now. Fernand is next. Gabrielle is after that. Humberto, I hope I'm saying that correctly. We'll have to check the pronunciations of some of these storms as we get down the list. HailTrace has, I think, 12 to 16. I think that's our forecast. Named storms. Actually, what is our forecast? Let's see if I can pull that up for you guys. So we've seen 5 named storms already. I'm going to go off to the side and get on my computer and see if I can pull up that forecast for you. Hurricane. Aha, there you go. That was fast. Okay, so on average, most seasons, on average, we get 14 named storms. 7 of those become hurricanes, and 3 of those become major hurricanes. Now, last year, we had 18 named storms, so an above average 2024 season. 11 of those hurricanes and 5 of those major hurricanes. Do you guys remember Beryl, the first hurricane of the Atlantic season of 2024, last year? It also became a Category 5 hurricane. So first hurricane of this year and first hurricane of last year, both Category 5. This year, here is our forecast: 12 to 17 named storms, 6 to 10 of those hurricanes, and 2 to 3 of those major storms. Major hurricanes. We've already gotten 1 major hurricane. We've probably got 5 more hurricanes to go, and at least 7 more named storms. So if we go back to our names here, we are saying that we'll probably get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 2 Lorenzo. So we have a lot more to go, which is typical, right? It's very typical. Climatologically speaking, it's very typical for us to get busier and busier and busier as we head into the end of August and early September, and even through most of September. So we probably have about 3 to 5 more weeks of very, very active Atlantic season.